Alright, good day guys, and welcome to another Rocket League analysis video. This video is for Tuomo, and we're just gonna get straight stuck in. The first section of the video is just like some strange little intro thing. Um, but we're gonna get stuck in. That was just a missed shot from you, I believe. It wasn't a bad pass from your teammate. Well, sorry, from the enemy. But you side flipped into it instead of just taking your time and front flipping into it, try to put it on the net, which is fine. Now you're going back. It's not a bad decision. Um, and you're just sort of lurking. This is smart for you to be lurking. Now, this I want to point out something. Although you didn't expect the bounce to happen the way that it did, both your teammates are up in basically in their fucking net. They're pretty much like they're both in their box, right? You don't want to be on this half of the field if both your teammates are in like way out of position. The reason being is that they can't get back in time. So if these guys had gotten like a heavy clear off, um, all of you guys would have been in their half, and all of them would have been in your half, or at the very least one of them and the ball. Where the ball is obviously the most important thing, but you can't do anything from their half. So you kind of want to sit a little bit more defensive if both your teammates are up and just be patient, take your time. You still got 4.5 minutes of the match, like no rush, no biggie. So you didn't really have to push this, and then obviously the backflip, which was you kind of didn't get a choice because there's no way you were hitting the ball from the wall. So you've gotten boost, you're sort of sitting back in field. This was a good cut, like you cut that off quite well. Your teammates randomly come in and decided he wants to take the ball for himself. Not for any particular reason. I don't think he has the very much intelligence, but you know what? Shit happens. Um, he even great passed you. You're like sitting here like, fuck you, motherfucker. That was my goal. Alright, that guy got the demo. I just want to point out something here. So you went for boost, you went back to net when you realized that someone was in defensive position. That wasn't a bad idea at all. So you went for boost. Now, what was a bad idea was going so far out of the net for this. Um, the reason being is that your teammate probably wouldn't have been behind you at this point. So sometimes it's better to sit at the far side of the net or at least in the middle of the net. You sort of drove to the near post and then began to drive up towards the ball. I still think you could have gotten the ball had you have boosted maybe a little bit less and rushed a little bit less. Just be a little bit more patient in defense would be a big tip, a big way to help that situation not occur. So a little bit more patience, you know. Maybe seeing as you've now equalized your own mistake, you have to vote to forfeit right there, right there, right there. So press that button and then spam your teammates, abuse all of them, abuse the enemies, abuse everybody because that's how you play Rocket League. And that's this analysis video. That's it. That's done. Alright, on to the next one. I'd say here as well was another. Uh, you rotated a bit funky. Now, not going for this ball wasn't a bad idea. Like being patient and not just trying to rush after the teammate got a bad clear. That's your teammate's fault, but you turned in here. Not really much purpose for you turning in here. It's probably better to just sit against the backboard or in the corner or like facing into the middle of the field or going all the way into the net because from here you really can't do anything. It's called no man's land, this corner. If you're coming out of this corner without any speed or momentum, 99 times out of 100, you're making a mistake. It's very, very situational, of course, but general rule of thumb is you don't want to be slowing down in this corner because you can't defend anything except for the corner. You know what I mean? Your car is pretty much useless. You're useless as a teammate because there's nothing to defend here. Like, there's nothing risky about this corner in and of itself. It can be used as a passing tool, but 9 passes out of 10 that go into the corner come out because the ball will slow down when it hits the wall. Um, you generally can, if you're in the net, you can get to the ball before any enemy can, most of the time. So it's better for you to defend to go into the net than it is for you to turn all the way out here and then slam on the brakes and be going really slow out of the corner of the thing. Because obviously you're stuck, the ball's gone straight over your head. Your teammate jumped for no fucking reason, and you got scored on, which is unfortunate. I think both of your teammates are absolute tools. I think they're just making mistake after mistake. It was good that you called that, but apparently your teammate wanted to go anyway, even though you called it. So, like, that's cool. Thanks, teammate. Alright, so that wasn't a bad clear. That was a bad attempt at a ceiling shot, but that's alright. You've turned around really far away. Now, turning back here isn't exactly a bad idea because your teammate's going back. Try not to hit your teammate, of course. Um, However, you do want to turn a little bit more infield so that you can wait for a pass or something like that instead of being, yeah, for example, instead of being so far to the side because you might have been able to actually get a power shot on that. At least maybe put it on net. You probably wouldn't have scored it, but putting it on net at the very least um, wouldn't have been detrimental at all to you or your team. Jumping for this wasn't exactly the smartest idea unless you put it really gently against the wall. The reason being is that um, both your teammates were up again, and you just sort of got to give your teammates room to do dumb shit like that sometimes, especially when they're in a team and you're solo queuing, because chances are they probably will. You probably could have pulled off a great fake there. Anyway, you're on your way back now. He gets a bad clear. Turning here. Now, because you're going up against people who aren't quite that fast, they're fairly fast, but not that fast. Turning here wasn't exactly the most, like, power sliding to that extent wasn't exactly the best idea. It would have been better for you to just run all the way back to the net instead of turning there. The reason being is that you don't have any momentum. So it's better for your teammate to come out of net and take your spot because he has all the momentum and probably a bunch more boost than you do. If you're last man back, sometimes it's not a bad idea, but it's very situational again when you're last man back. Sometimes better to leave it, sometimes better to not. Um, oh, oh, I thought that was going to be an easy goal. Again, you've pushed up even though both your teammates are there. Honestly, your teammates are idiots. Like, there's not really your mechanically and decision making wise above their tier. Like 100%, and they just continue to fuck you up for no reason, for absolutely no viable reason. They just keep damaging you. So when it comes to teammates like this, you're going to get them. Even at high ranks, like I've hit champ 3 now, and I'm only just starting to get people who aren't idiots. And even then, there's the odd person who is very, very chasey or plays very silly. And they're repping like, season 6 grand champ titles and ESL titles and stuff, and they're still potatoing around the field like nuggets. Sometimes you will get teammates that are hard to work with. You need to be able to work around that. Now I'm going to rewatch this section because I was too busy talking. Um, so you went for that. You just sort of missed that. That's unfortunate. Shit happens. Your teammate missed the backboard. The other teammate somehow managed to get a thing. Now here, I don't really understand the logic behind you turning the way that you did. It was like you're afraid of the ball. Um, you could have pinched it against your own backboard to send it away, or taken it across the court had you been fast enough, or passed it into the middle of the court so that your teammates could have gotten clear on it. I feel like all you did there was drive away from the ball because it was a really scary big round thing, and you didn't want to get hit by it. Which I sort of see the incentive behind it because you don't want to damage your teammates' opportunity to clear the ball. Which I get, I understand that. However, sometimes you need to do the hard work, and if your teammates can't do it, and clearly your teammates cannot do it. Also, this is it's another one of those you should have rotated things. Now, you stopped the ball there. That wasn't a bad idea. However, the way that you came into the net wasn't exactly the most intelligent thing. Now, you should have driven a little bit further to the right and gone to the far side net. As you can see these lines here, almost every map has them. They are your goalposts. That line goes from your goalpost over here to the other goalpost over there. Most of the maps have these lines. Sometimes they're a dot, sometimes they're this, sometimes they're that, but they almost always have them. That is the indicator for your goalpost. If the ball is rolling along this line on that side, it's going to go in. On this side, it's going to go out. Just so that you know. Um, so you want to rotate outside this and rotate into it as you get to the net instead of rotating straight through it. Because, see, if you had been further into net, you could have gotten a really heavy clear there instead of getting a really soft one and getting your boost stolen. Which is another thing. In threes, you don't have to boost to the ground. Saving a half a second on boost, wow, that was lucky, isn't really necessary. So you don't necessarily need to do that. But that's just a. I just want to go back to here. See, this was another time where you were close side of the net, and because your teammate was far side, he could actually get the save. It was a bad clear that he got. He could have gotten a much better clear, but he managed to get the save because he was far side of the net and could drive into the ball, as opposed to you, he had to reverse into the ball. So that's a perfect example of why you sit where you sit. That was just a misplay. Shit happens. Um, and boo, what the fuck? Jesus, that must have been like 100, what the hell? 163 kilometers an hour. Oh, you vote to forfeit again. Why are you doing? Are you trying to like save your game or something? Are you misclicking or are you typing? Okay, 163. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. 163 is nuts. Yeah, I don't see any purpose whatsoever for you to ever jump up to this ball. There is, especially from so far away. Had you been a lot closer to it, like a lot further underneath it, you might have been able to get a soft redirect towards their net. But because you couldn't, because you didn't, I mean, it ended up in a goal anyway because you passed, it ended up inadvertently being a pass back. However, you could have just left it for him and it probably would have ended up being a pass back anyway. And if the enemies were as fast as they are at higher ranks, they would have dunked all over that guy. They would have ruined him. So you have to be quite wary of that when it comes to pass backs. I also think that maybe as a mechanical tip, try to air roll a little bit less and focus on taking off properly, as opposed to trying to make your air roll work as a takeoff. That's not, unfortunately, how the flying in this game works. If you want to keep momentum, if you want to push momentum into the ball, you have to take off towards the ball, and then all you're using your boost for is like an up-down motion instead of using it in all the other directions. Also, congratulations on champ. Uh, yeah, that's a big thing. I could use this one back here as an example. This one here. So you had an opportunity to, yeah, you turned around, the ball came up to the center of the field. Now, although you may not have gotten this on net with a huge amount of power because that requires a fair amount of um, like know-how and practice, you still could have put it on net, except for some reason you can see your car slightly tilt a little bit as if you just tapped the air off. If you had have just turned your car to the left a little bit, you would have hit the ball dead on with a ton of power and sent it up onto their side of the field. So I would definitely recommend air rolling a lot less, practicing aerials without air rolls. Obviously, you can go back to practicing aerials with air rolls eventually as well. It's not that big a deal. You can go in and out of it, but everyone needs to learn how to be able to hit the ball with power, speed, and consistency without air rolling because air rolling takes extra time. Most of the time, it takes longer. It's tougher for you to figure out everything about it, um, and for your brain to wrap itself around it. So that is definitely something I would recommend. So first thing I'd recommend, sitting far side of the post, try to rotate into the far side of the net a lot more. Secondly, focus on certain small mechanical details. like the way that you aerial and the way that you hit the ball. Try to hit it with more power and think a little bit before you jump and air roll less, of course. What else? There was one other thing that I mentioned, but I've forgotten it. Oh, thirdly, you'll get bad teammates from time to time. You get chasey teammates. You get teammates who just think that it's a 2v3. You'll get these kind of teammates. You'll also get teammates who want you to do all the work instead and really just want to play passive. You have to be able to, especially if you're solo queuing, you have to be able to work around these things. The reason being is that um, I need to pause this. What the fuck is this? This is fucking nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. What the hell, frag hero? Are you serious? Um, so yeah, that you need to definitely learn to work around your teammates. Give them a lot of room. Sometimes they're gonna need a lot of room. Sometimes they're gonna need fuck all room. And then they'll pass a lot and you get good synchronicity. Sometimes that won't happen. Most of the time that won't happen. Especially when you're a third man solo queue and the other two are together, chances are they're only gonna pass to each other. That's not a bad way to play, that's not a bad thing. However, you just need to give them room to do that. So always try to be the part of your team that your teammates aren't. Um, Work on certain mechanics. Aerials, for the most part, seem to be a big issue for you. Well, they're not a big issue, but there's something that's going to hinder you. And defensive rotations, rotate deeper into the net and rotate to the far side of the field. Don't be afraid to just sit there. Sometimes you do have to sit there for 10, 15 seconds just sitting in the net because you either have no boost or you have to sort of reset because you're playing silly or you just literally believe that there's a shot that's going to come launching towards the net. And not conceding is more important than trying to score another goal. Um, unless you're already like multiple goals down and the game doesn't have time left or something along those lines. Not conceding is the most important part of the game, especially like from the get-go, until you're losing. So always make sure that you're in a position where you can make sure that your team doesn't concede and doesn't make a mistake. Anyhow, that's it for this video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. If you want an analysis video done for you, hit me up on Steam. Like, uh, I'll write my name in the description or on Facebook because a lot of you guys come from Rocket League community, which is on Facebook. Um, and yeah, enjoy. Have a good one.